Oops.
Viewing live. You are live. Copy. Need to invite, or I need to share it on the groups.
Right.
Give people a chance. Join. It's so hard for me to try to figure out how to do this on here. There's groups. Where's my groups? Oh shoot. There they are. Eh. Okay. Sorry that we are late, everyone. I had a meeting with my dad earlier for my birthday, which is actually later on this week, and taking care of some legal stuff with the car. And then I also went to visit my mom and her fiance, and also had to get a bunch of other stuff because it's suddenly very cold here in North Carolina, so the dogs don't freeze to death. But the point of tonight's video is to talk about separation. Sorry, I'm still sharing this with where do I post it? Goodness, what an awfully long thing to try to do to post it. Is somebody's watching. Hi.
Hey.
Sorry, I was still posting everything. This is my boyfriend Alex, who's visiting from the UK. So he will be joining me tonight to discuss separation. Even though he's from another country and they don't have CPS exactly the same way that we do, I'm not sure how bad it actually is over there or not. I know a lot of the UK is really similar to here, so I don't know as far as that, but I know he experienced a separation from his mother during his childhood and teen years. So I figured it'd be good to have him on to discuss, what that was like, and what the supposable excuse was for them doing it, and how he feels it's affected his life. Also, I need to get the line open in case any of you guys want to share any experiences that you have had with separation, either as the child or as the parent. And so, but that is going to be the main focus tonight, is discussing separation and the effects of separation. But other than that, I need to get to my phone so I can welcome all of you. Life after loss. Sorry, I was still posting to the group. But yes, welcome. Had a really busy week with all the vacation stuff going on and trying to get through so much stuff for Halloween and then preparing for my birthday as well. So, hi, I missed last week. I'm so sorry about that. But yeah, we're back this week and hopefully we're going to have a good show. We are running a bit late, as in almost an hour late. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, so the lines will be open if any of y'all want to share. And I will be getting started in just a minute. Let me go grab my phone just to make sure the line is actually open.
Max. Get out. Yeah. Come on. Max. Come
Wait a minute. No. This is what happens when CPS takes your kids. You end up getting a bunch of dogs.
Right.
Yes. So, getting the line open. I have my phone now, so if any of you guys want to call in, let me post the number. You guys should know it by now. It's 336. It is not typing. 336-444, 2169. So, and I'm also making sure that this is ready to receive calls. It should already be ready. I don't think I have to have the app open. I just have to be logged in. So let's see. What's happening? Stop. Stop. An ad came up. No, I'm not logged in. I'm sorry about that. Let me go ahead and get logged into that account because I'm not. So the line isn't open, but give me just a minute. I'm switching over to that so that you guys can start calling in or texting. And if you know me on Facebook, then you can message me on Messenger as well. It don't really matter. You can do it in the comments on here. Just however, and share your experiences or opinions on separating a parent and child and how you feel like that affects the two of them. I know me, I can speak from the parent perspective. And like I said, I figured it'd be good to have Alex here, not just as support, but as the child's perspective. There's different situations. Some are worse than others, but I just figured it'd be something good to talk about.
Well, I mean, I was a child at the time.
Yeah.
Not now.
Yeah. But
we can make that clear.
They're not logged into the right account. How did that happen? Anyway, while I'm trying to get this to work, I guess I'll just start off by asking you a few basic questions. So, how old were you when you were separated?
When I was separated, I was like 14, I believe. But in terms of like agencies and people like social workers and stuff like that being involved, that was like before then. Yeah, because of other things, but that's kind of not quite as relevant to this.
Okay, all right. So you was 14, which is actually a lot older than most of the children that are being separated in our country. They do sometimes separate older children as well. But a lot of times they go after parents with younger siblings. But your mom was a single mom, right?
Yeah, but I mean because my dad, loosely used, like when he passed away when I was like 8, there was like concerns surrounding my mom and my well-being or anything like that, like since then. So like between like 8 and 14 there was like a lot of concerns around that. Not so much between like 12 and 14 though.
Right.
Because there was like concerns around about 8 to 12, and then it kind of died down between 12 and 14. So yeah.
Right. Okay. So but why were you separated from your mother if there wasn't any concern by that point?
Well, because there was some concerns that came up regarding like my mental health and well, not actually mental health as such. It was actually mental health issues caused by like bullying issues in high school and stuff like that. And basically, the social workers believed that it was actually my mom that was causing that, but it wasn't really.
Right. So why did they believe that?
Because they thought that my mom was like either abusing me or like not taking care of me as much as she actually was. But like the issues actually came from school and everyone around it, you know.
See. Hi, Alex and Amanda. All channels take time. I stumble on shows 2 to 5, 8 years old. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of cases where the children are around that age. Like I remember there was some CPS involvement in my life when I was really young, but nothing came of it, thank God, because we had a community of people. Plus, too, I was from a middle class family and I had a two-parent home. And I think that makes a big difference because it's not that it's not that middle class families with like a mom and dad or a two-parent home like father, stepmother, or mother, stepdad can't be targeted. It's just that they're less targeted than poor families or single mothers or single fathers. Divorced parents are more likely to lose their children. In fact, a lot of times people's cases can come up or can be targeted by CPS during a divorce because people are fighting for custody, and so it might use something one of the parents said about the other parent to then start a CPS case to try to take the child from both parents. So I have seen that happen even in middle class and upper middle class families. Um, but like I said, I was around 9 the first time, and then when I was 12, the second time when actually a family member had called and made a bunch of false allegations because they had beef with my mom or whatever. And so thankfully nothing came of that. And I was also I was also aware to be weary of social workers, that they weren't there to help me, that they were there to hurt me and take me from my family, that that was their goal, and that I needed to be smart about how I conducted myself with them because they will use your words against you and they will take things you say and make it mean something totally different than how you intended it. Um, so did you ever get interviewed by any of the social workers?
Um, from what I remember, sometimes yes.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
remember anything that they had I know it's a long time ago, but did you remember anything that they, asked you?
Off the top of my head, one question I do remember was like they pretty much like assumed straight away that it was like my mom was like abusive or something, right? They like I remember one of the first questions they asked me, like, from what I remember was, when did your mother last hit you? Like that was like one of the first questions they asked me. Like,
Oh gosh.
from what I
I think
remember,
I remember a similar question to
yeah,
that.
it's like it's almost if they assume that they're abusive parent.
Right.
You
They
know,
do.
they kind of want to like it's almost as if they wanted to like trick me on the first hurdle. You know,
Yeah.
and I believe I remember saying something like, "No, you've got the wrong parent."
Yeah.
I think that's what I said, or something like that. Which, to be honest, had a lot of truth in it, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great subject. I would like to know more about the survivors. Yeah. Yeah, like we need to hear those stories as well because like I would like to hear more from the children who either went through these, and like you have a great relationship with your mom now.
Yeah.
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 Um, so why was that even a question though? Like, was there assumptions you were being physically, um,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. Like,
Were you being physically, I guess physically bullied in school or something, or was it
yes. Yeah.
okay?
Um, but I think, I think they kind of took the physical bullying I experienced in school and like kind of like twisted around and said, "Oh yeah, let's make this about your mom," you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, no, in school itself, I was like physically bullied there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but never by my mom.
Yeah.
No.
So, let's see. So when you was 12, right, you were diagnosed on the autistic spectrum.
Yeah.
Did that have anything to do with it, or
Um, it might have it might have shifted their decision, I guess, a little bit.
right,
Um, I guess in terms of the whole mental health side of things, I think they kind of felt as if like, autism was something to be concerned about or something. I don't know.
right, or like somehow your mother caused it or something, you know?
Yeah, like, I don't know. I really don't know.
Right. Yeah. So what ended up happening? Like what ended up leading to them actually separating you? Because you said they'd been involved for a while. So why did they actually separate
They
you?
well, because historically there was like, allegations or
So there was
you
more
know
than one allegation basically, and they
yeah,
were just kind of like, well,
yeah.
we've been involved and we keep getting involved with you. We're just going to take you.
I think with the whole, like, with like my dad side of things, that didn't help, I don't think.
Right.
But I think from a historical aspect,
Yeah.
that kind of made it seem worse than it actually was,
Yeah.
I guess. But in terms of like at the time they felt that my mental health was like deteriorating,
Mm,
as they said. Like they used words like deteriorating or downhill or whatever,
mm.
which, like, in fairness, had some truth in it.
Right.
Like, because at the time I was like,
You were
pressed or
going through
whatever.
puberty and stuff too, probably,
Yeah,
right? So,
which probably made it even worse.
yeah, and then you was being bullied at school.
Yeah, like, physically, emotionally, or whatever. And like in the end, I think it was literally just down to
Did they not ever question the school, or do you not know?
as far as I know, they didn't.
Hmm.
As far as I know, they made like absolutely zero effort.
So it was the school's fault, but they basically punished you and your mom.
Um, Essentially, yes. Essentially, yeah. Um, because neither them or the social workers had been in contact with each other, and
Hmm.
um, they they basically assumed, like, the social workers basically assumed it was my mom's fault, which obviously it wasn't.
Right.
She made that point very clear,
Right.
right? But she said to them about like the whole school situation going on and everything, and like the social workers, they asked me a bunch of questions from then, like, like, asking me what's going on and all that, and when I said to them what actually happened, they said, oh, right. Right. So I said that people like, fellow students were like, bullying me in different ways, then and then they were like, right. So
Right.
so your mom and the school
Your mom in the school, right?
are the cause of this. And I was
And
like,
see, they'll try to do that. They'll take a little
yeah,
bit of truth and then mix in
yeah.
what they want it to be and
And
try to get you to say something incriminating.
right. And I said,
That sounds like a text now thing.
oh,
Okay. All right. So someone has just texted in. It says, I will always believe that if society ruled, no parent would be in that predicament. I seen two children, ages 3 and 6, and seeing them 2 years later, they hadn't grown, stunted growth taken by agency. Yes, as a parent, I noticed the same thing with my children that they were like developing. My son was
mm,
actually advanced. My daughter was too young to really be able to tell if she was or not. And I think she might she's not been diagnosed as this, but from what I've learned about autism, I felt like she was kind of that because she had some of the key symptoms.
Yeah.
But when they're a newborn, it's kind of hard to tell, you know. But she had some of the symptoms like a lot of autistic babies, they don't like touch, they don't like to be held, and they don't like all of
Mm.
that. It like freaks them
See,
out or something.
that's I think that's kind of untrue in my case.
Really?
Yeah, because like from what my mom's told me, like I used to actually enjoy being held.
Did you
As
only want to be held by one person though?
um well, I didn't really have much choice in that.
Right.
Like it was only really my mom that was available for that.
Right.
So
With
yeah.
Sissy, like I said, I mean, she had a lot of problems, and I don't know if it was autism or what it was, but she did have a lot of issues as a newborn. Like she was colicky, which pretty much I had to cope with on my own and figure out my own thing because the doctor was just like, "Oh yeah, you're just like stuck like that for at least the next 6 months." You know, that there's really nothing we can do about it. And then I looked online and found out actually there are some things you can do to help that. And I did those things until, you know, her colic nature was able to be, you know, I figured out how to deal with her, which was different from any other baby. And people, it was hard to even get sitters for her because of the way she acted, you know,
Mm,
because she didn't want to be held. And anyone who actually likes babies, that's the only thing they like about babies is that you can hold them. And she's like, no, do not hold me. Swaddle me, you can swaddle me and leave me alone. That's what you can do. It's like
right.
she didn't really like all that. She liked to play, she liked to eat, and then she's like, "Leave me alone. I want to sleep." But otherwise, besides even with those issues, she was pretty much developing normally, with maybe just a slight delay. And my son was really advanced. And then after they went into CPS custody, it's like what that one person said. 2 years later, they were like the same age. It was like there hadn't been any improvement. Sissy didn't start speaking until really late in her life. Like she was probably about 3 before she started being able to communicate clearly.
Yeah,
Um,
that I can relate to as well.
right. Whereas my son at like a year old, like her at 3 was like my son at a year old.
Yeah, because
Um,
for me it was like obviously I have like difficulties anyway, but
yeah.
like I didn't really speak like
Right.
until I
Well,
was
like you
like
had autism, so that
yeah,
went undiagnosed for a long time.
but it was like 3 or 4 by the time I was actually talking, but
Yeah.
it wasn't very clear until I was like 6,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So it was like really late.
Yeah. But yeah, so Sissy, she was slightly delayed. And the thing was, this is the weird thing, is they actually tried to say they were delayed when they came into custody, but then it was like whatever they were doing, they were actually creating the children that way so that it matched what they had already reported beforehand.
Right.
So they were like trying to send them to all these specialists and trying to get specialists to say, "Oh yeah, they have a some kind of, you know, issue, like they're developmentally delayed." Like they said my son was, and I'm like, "What?" Like he's like out of all the kids I've seen his age, you know, I've not been in the whole country, but at least in my county, all the kids his age are way less developed than he is, you know, that
Right.
he's like a 5-year old amongst these other 2 and 3-year olds, you know.
Yeah.
And so, but it's like after going into care, he started having misbehavior problems. He started having emotional problems. He started having fits, temper tantrums, and even outbursts of rage where he would become so enraged at like a separation between me and him that he had blacked out even because
I think
he wouldn't breathe.
I I think I think I remember having similar experiences myself after after I ended up like being separated from my mom. Like, you know, sometimes sometimes I had like outbursts as well, and I
Oh,
had
did someone try to call? I just realized that it says missed call and that the person that's texting, it says, I believe this whole system is anti-life. School jobs, the old animals land. I don't know why or what to do. Um, yeah, I think that's that's kind of a different subject, but kind of like even in your case, the schools cause a problem with a lot of children, and
they
then they're
really
not
do.
held accountable for it, and the parents get blamed. You
Yeah,
know,
like my mom was blamed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were separated, how were you separated? Like, how's that work over there, or what happened in your case? Was you put in a home with a family or a housing? What?
Um, well, they actually put me in like specialist home for mentally ill people.
At 14?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Was
But
you around adults or was it just kids
oh no, it's like under 18s.
under 18? So
Yeah.
like a juvenile place. Someone else, they mentioned something here that's called the academy or something, and it's supposed to be like that where it's kind of like boarding school where they just learn and eat and sleep basically, and they
Well,
have psychiatrists there.
well, now that you've mentioned that, it was actually a somewhat similar setup to that, but it wasn't like a boarding school. No, it was more like a care home, and then that company that the care home was under.
Did you still leave to go to school or?
No. They had schools within the company,
Okay.
right? So basically, I ended up like in a separate school, like with like people from either that home or another home within the same company,
Mm.
like there was in like the same area kind of thing. Um, so yeah, it was kind of similar to what you just described.
Okay.
I ended up like having a therapist and all that as well. Which
Was you put on medication or was you already on medication before that?
no, I was never put on medication.
Okay.
The only time I was put on medication was when I was like, was at the beginning of this year,
Really?
actually. Yeah, I ended up taking like antidepressant pills for like a week, and then I started having like issues with them, and I ended up feeling like even worse for
Yeah.
it. So I literally went against like all of the all of the
Recommendations and you're
rules
like,
and
stop.
recommend. I went against everything that I was meant to do. Right, I literally just thought, no, I'm not taking these.
Right. Yeah.
So I just like stopped taking them, and then the next time I went back to my doctor, he was like, why did you stop taking them?
Hmm.
You're supposed to consult the doctor and keep taking them until your appointment. Bearing in mind though, my appointment, right? I was actually seen 3 weeks after I actually said to them about these issues.
Hmm.
So that would have meant I would have taken like a month's worth of pills.
Yeah.
I was supposed to take these big pills like once a day or whatever, and it just didn't work out.
You remember what they were called?
Centraline, I think.
Mm. I haven't heard of that.
It's like
It's the UK, so
yeah. I don't know if it's like different, but yeah, those pills really didn't work.
and well, from what I've studied with medicine and psychology and psychiatry, you was really too young to really be put on any kind of antidepressant like that because they always react badly in young adults.
Yeah, they really do.
Um,
Although I was
I don't want to say always, but most of the time, young adults have an
yeah.
adverse reaction where it makes them suicidal.
Yeah, although I think although I do remember like, at some points like, either before or after the separation I was having tendencies of like either suicidal acts or thoughts
When you
anyway.
was a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long was you in separation from your mom? Like, what age? Like, I mean, how long did that last?
Um, it was like nearly 18.
Really?
Yeah,
So at least 3 years.
yeah.
Why was it so long?
I have no idea.
Really?
But I don't know. I mean, it wasn't like total separation though.
Did you get to visit?
Yeah,
Did
like
she have to like come there and,
um,
or did you eventually, was you eventually allowed to like go out?
yeah, like because like a few times it was like I was able to like see her out in public or whatever, but but someone had to be there, you
Right.
know,
You had
like
supervised visitation.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like my mom, right? She really didn't like that. She didn't understand it or whatever.
It's
And
very uncomfortable as you feel like you're being judged and critiqued, and
yeah,
they're just, they're
and
like viewing you through a negative scope as a parent.
yeah.
And so they're wanting to turn any interaction between you and your child
Mm.
to something toxic and evil.
But do you know what the worst part was?
What?
Right? They like we could be like sitting here, like me and my mom, right? Yeah, we could be like talking about anything and everything, right? You know, and the person supervising would be sitting there taking notes,
Right.
right?
I would notice that too.
Like
Like do
they
something or I
that
say something to like one of my
right,
kids and then all of a sudden they're like, hmm.
right.
I'm like,
I,
what? What did you just write? What was wrong with what I
it's like
said?
because like anything me or my mom said, right? Yeah, like hmm, like it's that little that they give, right?
Right.
It's like I'm silently judging you, but I'm judging you through what I'm writing. They
And
would
most of them, they
they
just sit there like squinting at you like this, like they're just,
right, but it wasn't just what we were saying, right? It was
mm,
like any interactions, movement, or anything like that. It was all recorded.
really.
Yeah,
Hmm. I kind of wish that my visits would have been recorded. They actually got mad because of me recording. They took my visits because of me recording parts of a visit.
right.
Um,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, after a while, like that ended up like stopping, and then it could be like unsupervised.
yeah,
But that took like a while.
really.
Yeah, because there was still like concerns, and like even after we were like I ended up like moving, right?
Yeah,
Like the social worker I had at the time was still like trying to build up this portfolio of lies
right.
almost. Like she was like one time she visited me, right? I was like I had turned 15 by this point though.
Okay. So
Um
this is like year one.
yeah, but when I actually moved it was like a couple months before I turned 15.
Okay.
So like I had just turned 15, and the social worker was like saying to me about how like new evidence has come up, and I'm like, right.
Did they
And
say what it was or?
they said new evidence of abuse,
Hmm.
right? But what actually made this like really creepy was it was actually a neighbor that ended up like taking photos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it actually turned out, right, that this was actually even worse than imagined, right? Because the social worker that I had at the time, right, one of her friend's brothers or something, right, something like that,
Yeah.
ended up being like a neighbor to my mom, right?
That
They
seems like a conflict of interest.
they they actually moved in to spy on my mom.
Are you serious?
Yeah, right. And
How is that legal?
I didn't know this until I was like 15, right?
I don't know if it's me. You are buffering a lot. I think my Google might still be plugged in. Dave, is your phone Wi-Fi? Will you turn Wi-Fi off of your phone because we need as much connection as possible. I'm sorry, you guys. We might be buffering because of I have crap internet, and it's like the wireless connection is 8 megabits per second, and if you use anything else at all, it's just crap. So we've got that unplugged, so hopefully it's a little bit better now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were saying that a the social workers, what,
Like
sister's brother-in-law or something.
friend's brother or
Yeah, some
something.
friend's brother moved in
Yeah.
next to your mom to spy on
Well,
her.
actually a neighbor, so it wasn't like next door. But where she lives, she actually has like there's like another house that's kind of like perpendicular to hers,
Okay.
right? So it kind of had like a viewing point of sorts.
Mm.
And
On Unsolved Mysteries on YouTube, there is many families just torn apart and they always want to reunite. It is severe emotional trauma. I think as living beings, we could be better stewards. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, I don't believe in separation of any kind for any reason. Um, like if it is an actually severely abusive, like not what they're just making up, but an actually proven severely abusive situation, I still don't believe in cutting the cords completely with that parent. I think that should be up to the child to do. Because but I understand, like, if the child has to live outside the home, I could understand that. But there, most of these cases, it's completely unnecessary to even remove the child to begin with. Um, so like, so after that, that's just crazy. I don't see how that could be legal for, like, that just seems like a conflict of interest.
I really have no idea.
Yeah.
But but yeah, like my mom ended up like, you know, basically giving like all the social workers the middle finger. Basically, she was lit. She was like, no, this is like absolute rubbish.
Right.
You know?
Well, and two, she could probably feel more confident about doing that as well because you were so much older. So it's not like your bond was really going to be damaged by it. It's still severe emotional
Yeah,
trauma being separated, especially going through your teen years where everything is already scary and
yeah.
uncertain.
I mean,
But the bond, like at that point, they couldn't turn you against your mother, unlike if you
no,
were like 2 or 4, you know.
yeah, no, because like even when I was like separated from my mom, it was like, you know, like we still had that connection, we still had that relationship that was there. Um, I mean, it was kind of distorted
Yeah.
slightly by all the
Did you ever like
everything.
wonder because of what they were telling you and everything, because they were treating you like you were an abused child? Did you ever wonder if like, I wonder if my mom really is, has been being bad to me, or if she is brainwashing me and I just think that, like, did you ever wonder
Um,
anything?
no, not towards her, no, but
Okay.
more towards like, you know, my dad, right?
Yeah.
Like I knew what happened then. Like, you know, historically there was other like concerns about it and
Right.
everything.
Like way early in your life.
Yeah, but the weird thing was they did absolutely nothing
Yeah.
like back then.
Right.
You know, I mean, all they did was like, you know, essentially like split the parents up, and it's like,
Yeah.
you know, live separately. You know,
Right.
so essentially, like they did the same thing to me as they did to him. You know,
Right.
like but like a different age. So
Yeah.
you know,
Hmm.
so there was a lot of confusion around that. But like my mom, she knew what really happened.
Right.
Like, because she knew about all the stuff that the school was like trying to try and like make worse than it actually was. Like, all that. They like even the school tried to make her sound like a bad parent or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they were like saying about how there was like how I wasn't going on the field trips and stuff, or like not paying for certain things or whatever.
Oh, like extracurricular activities and stuff, or
Yeah, or even like you know school
like
union.
over here we have something stupid like a swim day or something, and it's like my mom wouldn't let me participate in that because of religious beliefs or whatever.
Right.
And so it's like immediately that just sets you apart, makes you a target where it's like, oh well, why didn't you do that or whatever, you know?
Yeah, because there was like certain field trips I didn't go on because of like financial side of things, and then the social workers like try to make out that my mom was trying to keep me at home and
She's trying to
stop
isolate
stop me
you and
from doing certain experiences, stuff like that. And she said that that wasn't the case.
yeah,
It was literally just down to her like financial situation at the time and her being a single parent and all that. So I guess that really didn't help either.
right. So like, did you ever think about running away?
Like from the home that I was in.
Yeah.
Uh Quite a lot actually. Yeah. Although I actually did a few times.
Did you?
Yeah.
What happened when you did?
Well, I ended up like either like going back after like a day or two, or just you know getting like end up like being seen by somebody, and it's like, oh,
Being
okay.
reported or whatever?
Yeah, like I was reported quite a few times, but nothing actually bad came of it. So
Or you just kind of like put back in there and
yeah, like it wasn't like, oh yeah, you have to pay like a fine for running away or anything. There was no real consequence to it.
right,
So if anything, it just made me want to do it more and more.
right. Um, so you said you had therapists in there, right?
Yeah.
Um, what did they think about the situation? Or
They were a lot more understanding in terms of like how it was like, from my perspective or my mom's perspective.
yeah,
They it was almost if like they saw through what the social worker said, and they they kind of like thought that they knew that what they had said was like lies, essentially.
right,
So it ended up being like a weekly regime of sorts to go ahead and see them every week. So for me it kind of became almost like not like anything to do with like brainwashed or anything like that,
right,
but um it was almost as if like I was having to go into this whole regime of seeing them every week, and by the time I was like 16, 17, it was like, uh, do I really have to do this still?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. So you were kept there until you were 17. So that's like almost 3 years of your life. You were almost an adult. Did they say why that they were like? How? What was the leaving process like? Like, what did they
Um,
say to you? Like, how did you know you were allowed to leave? What was that process?
They ended up like um talking with the social worker that I had at that point, which was
Hmm.
like a different person. Because the one I had when I was like, 12, 13, 14, or whatever, like she was basically a manipulator,
And she was
right?
biased.
Yeah. And then the two that I had after that, like, one after the other kind of thing. Because like we all agreed that the social worker that I had at the time was not the best fit for me. So I ended up changing to one when I was 14 or 15. But then I had him until I was like 17. Um, and then when I was about to leave, they decided to bring someone else in.
Oh wow.
Because the social worker that I had from 14 to 17 had ended up like going into a different,
Area or department.
yeah,
Okay.
in the
That
social
happens.
services.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah. So when I ended up moving, it was like they spent a few months trying to like find me somewhere new, um, find me something that was more like semi-independent kind of thing.
So they didn't release you to your mom's custody. They set
Um,
you up in a different housing or something.
Basically, yeah.
Hmm.
And like,
Why was that? Like why wasn't like why were you put in an independent situation? Like is it just different there? Are you considered to be independent and an adult at 17 over there or
no, I say it was semi-independent because it was like obviously you still had to like do stuff for yourself, but there was like people there like supporting you and stuff like that.
hmm.
Um,
So kind of like over here when people get out of prison there's like a halfway house or whatever.
yeah, similar to
So
that.
kind of like that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So
So you still weren't released to your mom. You were put in
but
a semi-independent housing, like I guess something to try to give you the skills to be on your own, I guess.
yeah, but that was only like a 6 month thing.
Yeah.
Because it was like a fairly limited tendency, but they
Oh,
wanted me to just like, they wanted to just find me a place so I could just move on from where I was,
yeah.
and then they just put me in that for like 6 months, but it ended up being extended to like 9 months because they couldn't find me anywhere. And then eventually, when that period of time ended, they just said, yeah, we're gonna just dump you now.
Mm.
So that's when I ended up being homeless for like 2 weeks.
Oh,
And even then, they still wouldn't allow me to go to my mom's.
really?
Yeah, because I was 18. Because I was considered an adult, right? So they were like, well, we have to now refer you to adult services instead. I was like, what? Like because I was considered an adult, and being in adult services and all that, they're like, mm, no, we can't let you go back to your mom's.
Really?
Yeah. So so
That's
I en-
crazy.
so instead I ended up like trying to set up camp in this woods type area for like 2 weeks, which ended up being like someone else's property. So I was kind of like trespassing on someone else's property for 2 weeks, kind of thing.
Right. So basically, what happened was is you were separated from your mom. You were put in a home that
Yeah,
was similar to boarding school, like a mental health boarding school thing.
that's a pretty accurate description. Mm.
And for about 3 years. And then even when they took you out of that, they just kind of put you in like a transitional housing
Yeah,
thing for you kind of like to go into independent living on your own into adulthood rather than
yeah.
sending you back to your mom. And then even when you became an adult, like as soon as you became an adult, they kicked you out on your face. And
No, 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 because I was 18, like for a while before they kicked
oh,
me out.
why did they kick you out?
Because the tenancy was only supposed to be 6 months,
Oh,
but they had somehow extended it to 9. and then
What were they doing while you were there? Like, why weren't they helping you, I guess, get your own place by that point? Like, what did they even do that led to that?
um well, I mean, they were trying to like build up my independent skills and stuff like that, but they weren't really. But nobody actually felt like me having my own place was a good idea at the time.
Mm.
So so essentially they ended up um like looking into like other semi-independent stuff. So that ended up like being the last place I was in before I moved again
Yeah.
recently. Um so even now I'm still like, in semi-independent,
Oh, I see.
right? Um but in terms of like the whole like parental custody part, I think my mom does have custody of me now. I think.
Mm.
I don't know. Unless I'm being held hostage by the council or
By the state
something.
or something,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
So we know you're an adult, but you can't go with your mom.
right. I mean, I could be with my mom, like if I wanted to,
Right.
right? But like, I mean, I could live with her, but I can't because of like the like she doesn't really have the room
Now
for
at
me
this
to
point.
live there. So
Right.
yeah.
Hmm.
So I can't really like go over there to visit and stay over or whatever because
Right.
of that.
Hmm.
But obviously that's just down to her personal situation. That's not like like child abuse or anything like
Right.
that.
Do you so your situation like with your mom now, your relationship with your mom now, do you think that it's exactly the same as before you went in, or do you think it was affected in any way from the separation?
um, I would say I would say it was definitely affected. Yeah, I think I think what it ended up doing was like I think my mom was kind of like trying to make up for that,
Right.
right? Even though it wasn't.
Because you said she kind of like spoils you some now.
Yeah, but obviously, like the whole situation wasn't her fault,
Right.
like because it was like the social workers, the schools, and whatever.
Right.
Like she was looking after me, you know, like the social workers at the time saw that she was looking after me.
Right.
She saw how we lived, and it like at the time and even now, it's a good house,
Yeah.
it's a good place.
Yeah.
It's got all the necessities and whatnot, and yet they still thought it was a good idea to separate everyone,
Yeah.
and yet they still believed that that where my mom was a good place for my sister.
Right. I was gonna say you have a younger sister. How come they left her in care with your
Um,
mom?
Not sure exactly,
Hmm.
but I guess at the time she didn't have like issues in school or whatever.
Right. I know things might be a little bit different here. Although I have heard of some cases here where, for some reason, like say a woman had like three boys and she lost two of them, but she for some reason got the other one back.
Yeah,
I don't know how that works or why that would even
I
work.
mean,
I know that in my case, the report from the babysitter was only on one child. The other child was not involved at all, but
right,
they made him a part of it anyway. Like they put them together as like
yeah,
both of them being neglected children or
right,
whatever.
because they interviewed my sister as well at
Hmm.
the time. Like they were asking questions about my mom, right?
Yeah.
Even then they had concerns
Mm.
like surrounding my sister,
Yeah.
and yet they still thought it was okay to just
Keep her
keep
there, but
keep
take
her.
you.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean at the time she would have been like 12.
Mm.
So if she was taken away, then she would just be put in more normal
Yeah.
care home,
Yeah.
you know. And they were probably thinking, oh no, that'll probably cost too much money for for us or the council or whatever, you know.
Right. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with how it's done over there. Again, I don't know if CPS or whatever social services are quite as rampant and corrupt over there as they are here.
I mean, they are,
But I
yeah,
know in your case, it
yeah,
definitely sounds like there was a lot of corruption and biases.
mm, absolutely,
Um, I think that's the other bad part about it is that you can't, there's really no prediction as to why they really target certain people. Like we can even say, at the end of the day, we notice this group of people is who they're targeting the most, which would be disabled parents or parents of disabled children and the poor. But there's also people that are middle class, upper middle class, who seem like they have a perfect life and everything, and they're church going people and they lose their kids one day. Some people lose their kids for being too religious, and they claim that that's unhealthy for the child. Um, so it's really there's so many variables in it because, like I said, I had cases before where the social worker worked with me and they came in to my home and they're like, clearly I can see that you have food, you have all these things, and I see you with your child or your baby, and that there are no concerns. I actually, at the time, what my state was doing is because of being on Medicaid, um, there was actually a lady from social service or like the health department that would come out to your house if you were on Medicaid and you had a baby. And she was there from the time I had my son, and I still had her when I had my daughter, and she never had any kind of concerns at all.
mhm,
And was always very happy with how I was raising my children and how they
yeah,
were developing. Like that's what she was there for, was to check on their development and to ask me if I was emotionally and physically okay, or if I needed help, and if so, what kind of help could she provide, or what organizations could she try to link
yeah,
me to. Like I liked her,
mm,
um, and I don't really understand why social workers aren't more like her. But there was other social workers, like I said before that, where I had allegations and they would come in and be like, hey, this is just ridiculous. Like there's no neglect or abuse or anything here. And they had someone at one point, I guess because whatever it was they made up wasn't a good enough allegation for CPS to want to get involved. Um, and like they knew it was a waste of their time. So then the person was like, well, she's crazy. She's mentally ill. She gets a crazy check from the government. And so then they got involved because of that. But then the person I had, they're like, no, you seem like a stable person and everything,
yeah,
and you seem really self-aware, and like you would know if you are having any kind of mental health crises, and you know all about the programs to get a hold of and everything. So they didn't have any concerns ever.
yeah,
And so you just never know because it depends on the caseworker. And for all we know, it could even be the time of month that the case came across their desk.
right,
Where it's like, not adopted out many children this last quarter. I need to adopt out more. I have I have a loan I have to pay back.
right,
Um, but yeah, so a couple more questions before we end up giving it over to our audience to ask some more of their own questions if they would like, or leave some comments. Um, so you do feel like that your relationship was affected
yeah,
by your mom. Um, do you think it's because, well, you kind of already said this, that you think that she feels guilty about y'all's separation?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I can understand that because I know for me, if I had a chance to be involved with my children and be with my kids, that I would I would have a hard time disciplining them, to be honest, because I would feel like our relationship's already been hurt so much that I would just
Yeah.
want to enjoy having them back, and it would be hard to discipline them because it's like I don't want to hurt them. You know, discipline is not hurting them, but at the time it's painful to them,
Yes.
having to have something taken from them or having to be put in timeout or whatever, and it would be hard for me to do that, because it would just reopen all that guilt and pain that I feel about our
Mm.
separation. Um, and I have a lot of guilt that I deal with because when you're going through something like that, even if it's like at the beginning anyway, if you know that you didn't do anything, I felt that guilt as a child too, though. Like when I was a child
Yeah.
and it was my mom that had got called on, I felt a lot of guilt that because of my behavior or whatever, that it had caused
Mm.
them to become involved. And so then I felt guilty as a child. And then also as a parent, whenever CPS had been called on
Yeah.
me by like a neighbor or something, I always
Mm.
felt a lot of guilt because I'm like, even though I was trying my best and I knew the allegations were false, I still felt like I had done something wrong that
Yeah.
had opened the door for them to get in.
I I felt I felt guilty um about like the first allegations, like, surrounding, like, not my mom, but like, my dad or whatever. And it's like, well, you know, like I felt guilty for, for everything that happened during that
Yeah,
point. Like I almost felt as if like it was my fault that I was being abused or whatever. And I remember seeing somebody when I was like, I think it was like 7, I think 6 or 7. And like, like, obviously I can't remember, like,
a lot
what
of things, right?
what they said or whatever.
Yeah,
But I do remember like feeling like really guilty for, being a victim of abuse. And it was like, well, did I like deserve this, or did I like do something to cause this or whatever?
right.
And it's like, well,
Especially
you
when you're
know,
being bullied in school and stuff,
yeah, like you think,
a lot of times we
yeah,
victimize the victims. For example, if you would just stood up for yourself, or if you would have just
right,
did this or just did that, and
yeah,
it's like you got some people like encouraging bullies and stuff, where it's like, oh well, you need to have bullies. If there aren't any bullies, then you're gonna have weak kids and all this stuff and everything. And
yeah,
it's like that's not true because different people respond differently to bullying across the scale
mm,
anyway. And some people are more like me, where which I will say this: with me, I wasn't ever really the direct target of being bullied.
yeah,
When I was younger, it was normally a friend of mine that they had picked out as being the weak one of the pack or whatever, that they would bully,
yeah,
and I would usually have to step in for him.
mm,
And any other kids, if I seen them, even if they weren't my friend, if I spotted like a group, it was usually that's how it was too. It'd be a group of people around one person
yeah,
bullying them, and I would usually step in
yeah.
and stop them.
I think,
I probably didn't handle it the right way because I'm like, well, I'll beat all three of you up, It's like,
uh, I,
and it helped that it's like at the time I was actually larger than everyone that age.
yeah,
Um, and so, but it's like I couldn't tolerate seeing anybody be bullied,
I think,
and
I think for me it was like even when I was like, you know, 5 or 6, whatever.
yeah,
Like even then, I'm still like, physical as well.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I think, I
A lot
think,
of kids are very cruel.
yeah. I mean, like, like either like, kicked, punched, whatever.
Yeah,
Like especially to the head or like ribs or whatever.
yeah.
Like even when you're like 5 or 6, it's still like,
It still hurts.
yeah.
And it's more than just physical, it does a mental and
Yeah,
emotional damage
yeah,
too.
exactly.
Um,
Like,
I
I
will
mean,
say for me,
yeah,
after I got older, I was a lot older before I experienced personal bullying, and it wasn't really kids my own age that I couldn't handle, but when I was like 12, I was bullied by a bunch of high schoolers at a local skating
yeah,
ring who, I mean, they just savagely tormented me.
mm,
And it's like I didn't at first I didn't even understand that I was being bullied. Like I knew that they were picking on me, but I would just it didn't really even bother me at first.
mm,
But then it kept escalating where it's like they just kept targeting me and they would get worse and worse to the point it
yeah,
did start getting physical and they stole my stuff and
mm,
tried to ruin my shoes and everything
yeah,
and actually tried to set up for me to be raped, I think.
mm,
Because they were like it's like they targeted some other like teenage boy, but was still like a younger teenage boy and was like forcing us together and telling him that he should take me to the bathroom and stuff. And I'm like, like they were very sexually violent.
mm,
And like I said, I was about 12. And
right,
I don't think I've really ever fully gotten over that. I've noticed since then I've had more victimizing experiences, like personally on myself.
mm,
That seemed like I attracted more of that kind of,
yeah,
um, what would you say, activity or environments. I guess I attracted those kinds of people more. So after that, because it was after that point that I was like raped for the first time,
mm,
and I had several experiences after that of being in those situations.
yeah,
And um, it was like, well, the first situation I really been in where I was actually physically dominated,
mm,
because when it was other people my age, that normally wasn't the case. But these people were 4 times my size,
yeah,
and so I actually did experience that. And I couldn't imagine be someone that experienced that feeling throughout childhood and throughout my life.
yeah,
Um, I imagine that's very traumatizing.
indeed,
Which we're kind of getting off subject, but I mean, really, if you look at what bullying actually is, CPS actually does that to parents.
yeah,
Um,
and the kids too,
yeah,
yeah,
they do. Like their interviews with children can get pretty hostile.
yeah, especially with some of the ones that I was in.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, they used to like ask like really strange questions,
yeah,
you know.
they
I
do.
think,
They ask really confusing questions,
yeah,
and then they also try to manipulate what you're saying to where they try
mm,
to say, "Oh, so you're saying this."
yeah,
Kind of like
yeah,
with me, what they had did because they were talking about. They asked me that same question when I was
mm,
12, like, "When's the last time your mom hit you?" And I'm like, "My mom's never hit me." It's like, "Oh
right,
yes, well yes she did because we put out this case from this state where it says she had spanked you." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not hitting." It's like,
right,
"Yes, it is. That is what hitting is. So when's the last time she hit you?" And I'm like,
right,
"No." I
or
still would never use the term hit. I'm like, "She does not hit me." And I'm like, and I don't even remember the last time I got spanked. It's been that long.
I mean,
Probably the file you pulled out was the last time.
they even ask questions where where like what what is actually said could be like mean like two different things.
Yeah,
Like like I remember you were saying once, like, something about we're here for the children
yeah,
or something like that, right? Because that can be like meant in two different
yeah,
ways or whatever.
yeah.
And I remember like I think I remember like,
A similar,
having a similar question.
yeah,
Um
or
or
a
like
similar statement being said, like,
yeah, or like, something that could be taken in more than one way.
yeah,
And I think I think for me I ended up like probably like saying, the wrong thing or something. Because
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I
but
know, like, even talking to you now, and with you having autism, that I could see them doing that, where
Yeah.
they could easily overwhelm you because autistic
Yeah.
people get overwhelmed more easily than most
Yeah.
anyway.
Because they were like, right, okay. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, they do that when they're like, writing something. It's like, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember one question, like, saying about, so how much trauma does your mother give you? What?
You're like, I don't even understand trauma yet,
Right.
you know?
And I was like, oh, I don't really know what trauma is. And like the social worker I had at the time like interrupted me, right? I was
Yeah.
like, I don't really know what trauma is. Dot dot dot. And then
Yeah.
it's like, well, you should because your mother neglects you and abuses you. And I'm like,
What?
you know,
Yeah.
and I was like, no, 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 she doesn't do that. She doesn't do that. And
Yeah.
like Um, and uh, uh, and she was like, "Well, yes, she does because we've had multiple claims of
Yeah, they
this."
did that to me too, where they
Uh,
where they argued with me, and it's like, yes, she does, and it's like, no, she doesn't. Yes, she does.
and
No, she doesn't.
and even though I was 14, right, I still had like this courage within me to literally almost like spell out what my life was like.
Yeah.
You know, I said to him, I said, I have a house with four walls, a roof, food. You could see the food,
Yeah.
right? I said, I literally
Like,
like,
go look in those cabinets right
right,
now.
right. I literally just opened the fridge. It has food in it,
Yeah.
and they said, like, literally, the first thing they do is go,
It's,
and it's like,
it's just like they don't know how to
mm.
respond.
and all I hear is this lemonade
Yeah.
unhealthy, unacceptable. And I'm just like, my mom drinks that. She's like, oh, so your mom's like feeding you unhealthy drinks,
Right.
but we have an entire drawer in the fridge dedicated to salad.
Yes.
She's like, she's there with a big witch nose. She's like, she's there. She was there in the fridge, like,
Yeah.
she had like one of those squiggly pug faces too. It's like, yeah, big witch nose. She looks in the salad drawer. She's like, unsanitary. This jar of sweet corn is not covered properly.
Okay.
I was like,
Yeah, it's like they just grasp at straws and like just
right,
start nitpicking at any little
and
thing.
and
But
um,
yeah, they don't do the same thing to foster homes.
and
They
then
don't go into the foster home that's got like 6 inches high of garbage all the way
right,
across it and piles of animal feces in every corner of the
and
house.
and make it even worse, right? Like for them because they got embarrassed after this, right? But like my mom, right? She was like saying about how like there's always food, there's always like salad, fruit, and whatever, right? And like the social worker, she was like, "Oh, really?"
Right.
You know, like somehow she got embarrassed by all this. And then like, when a report came through, it was like, yes, all they drink is soda. They have unsanitary salad.
Right. It's like the It's like the healthy food that they do have is kept in unsanitary conditions,
right?
making it unedible. Therefore, these children have no food. And
And and they try to claim that my mom was like, taking food from us
and hoarding it somewhere.
and holding it for herself. But that was not the case, right? Because like my mom, she's got like one of those wheat intolerance, right?
Yeah,
So she has to have like her own separate bread or whatnot,
yeah.
right? And they were
Like she's
like,
got special foods that
yeah, that
she
that
has to
that,
eat.
that she has to eat. Like
Right.
she can't eat like,
And it's probably more expensive as well because it's
yeah, like the price increase is like, two or sometimes three times as much.
right.
And the social workers are like, "Mm,
Separate food,
no,
no.
no,
You can't
no."
have different things.
Right. Like, but like in in all fairness though, like the house I was living in at the time, which is still the house that she lives in now,
Okay.
right? Like, you know, I saw nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
You know, like the only issues I had in my life at the time were like environmental ones.
Yeah.
Like outside of the home, like in school or
Yeah.
whatever. And then, all the social workers and everything. And then, right? And then after I moved, right, the school, right, like right, the school actually had like this ceremony after I left, right, saying like, what an honorable student I was and whatever, and it was like, you
Mm.
what? you know, like like it was almost as if they were trying to claim that I was like this good student,
Mm. He will be missed.
yeah, and yet
Um,
like 98% of the school were bullies to me.
yeah. Um, so overall though, how did the separation affect you, do you think? Like, do you think you have some emotional stuff or mental stuff from
Yeah,
that?
I think detachment is quite a
Do
big
you, do
thing.
you feel like
Yeah,
it actually made your attachment issues with your mom worse to where,
I think I think
or vice versa, where do you think you have a more, like, say, an unhealthy attachment towards her as far as being more clingy, whereas maybe you would have had a natural
yeah,
growing apart versus that sever?
yeah, I think when I started to like see my mom more or whatever, it kind of like it was almost if it was like artificial growth
Yeah.
within the relationship, and like then I started being like, you know, I guess kind of clingy, like you
Yeah.
say, and then I think even now I can be like, that with people, like
Yeah.
not just my
Like you're afraid
mom.
of losing people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like in general as opposed to, like my mom or whatever. But like if it's people I don't really have any emotional or physical attachment to, then it's like, oh, okay, they left my life. Bye.
Right.
You know?
So, um, so you've probably developed some issues though to where it could have cause you to have a harder time building a healthy relationship because you
Mm,
have a fear of separation now because of
yeah.
losing your mom at such a
Yes.
important time in your
Yeah. For
development.
sure. Sure.
Do you ever feel like um I don't know how to say it, but like the relationship with your mom was stunted, as in you feel like your age to some degree is stunted, where you're kind of still more like a child with her than your age actually should be at this point. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah.
where you're more like the
Yeah.
14-year-old
I
that
I
was
think
taken from her when you're with her than
I
a
think
grown 20-year-old man with her.
yeah. I think I think in my mind I'm kind of like 16, 17. with
Right.
her, you know. So it's almost as if like my growth was like slowed down, and then after I left care, it kind of like started to develop more again, but
Right.
but it really did slow down like a lot, I think.
Do you think that maybe your relationship with your other sibling, your sister, was affected by the separation? Do you think you would have been, because I know you're not very close with her now.
Oh yeah,
So
but that's mainly because of who she is as a person. I can't really determine that,
right.
you know. Um, but I think my relationship with my sister is probably like, just normal.
Just neutral.
Yeah, just normal brother and sister kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like we don't really see each other as often
Did you ever
as
see her when you were in care?
sometimes. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. Not always, but sometimes.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, um, it's definitely and again, you was much older, so you had a better understanding of what was going on than younger children, even though you was still traumatizing and confusing. I'm sure.
Yeah, I had like, from when I was like just starting to be like in the separated environment, like, I ended up like, like you mentioned earlier with Lucian, like,
Yeah.
behavioral issues or outbursts or whatever.
Right.
They kind of calmed down eventually.
Right.
But
Eventually, you learn to comply.
yeah, I didn't really have much choice, but
Yeah.
like, when I started the whole running away thing, um, I was actually kind of successful actually a couple of times.
Hmm.
I ended up like one time I ended up like um somehow somehow traveling to like a relative's house, and
Hmm.
and then um and then I ended up getting ratted out on.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to be like going back to where I was.
Yeah. Do you feel like your mental condition, with the mental and emotional problems you were having before you went into care, do you feel like that they improved or that they got worse after you went into care?
um, I think I guess like at first they got worse, and
Right.
then I think I started getting better when I was like, when I was like 16. Like, I think at the time I was like, doing exams and stuff.
Right.
So I think that made it even worse. And then after I finished those, it started to get better, and then college started, and eventually I like ended up in this like depressive phase where everything to me was just black, and you know um um and ended up like again in like suicidal thoughts, or attempts or
Yeah.
whatnot. That's a slightly different topic, I guess. um so I ended up like, you know um I guess worse, and then eventually came better ish.
Right.
But at the time it was kind of like, oh, college again, yay,
Yeah.
another day to not dying.
Yeah.
But like at the time I was like 17, and I don't think the people that some of the people I ended up having like friendships or whatever with, like, didn't help. But
Yeah.
although
Yeah.
although some people I knew from college I'm still friends with,
Right.
which surprises me actually, to be
So
honest.
basically, the only thing that had kind of helped make it better was you going to college then. So it's kind of like the
um
separation was actually worse, but when you started being able to get more freedom, I guess again, it started to
yeah,
get better.
I
But
think
then you kind of went back into a depression at some point afterwards.
Yeah, no, because during college I was kind of like, I think I ended up like with the wrong people,
Okay.
like the wrong crowd, and then like a bunch of other stuff happened, like not like not like anything bad, but except like weed,
Yeah,
I guess.
right.
um, although although I think that actually started after I ended up being depressed again,
Right.
and then I ended up like in therapy sessions, um saying certain things that ended up being worrying to my social worker at the time as well, and he ended up like asking me stuff as well at the time, and I wasn't like anything concerned too much about it,
Okay.
but but at the time it was concerning for like the place I was living in,
Yeah.
because as soon as they knew that I was either like suicidal or depressed, whatever, like they would like take measures to try to prevent anything bad happening.
I see.
So yeah, so that happened.
Hmm. Well, it's getting late. We've been on almost an hour and a half instead of our normal 2 hours. Um, but if anyone wants to add anything to the topic, someone else had messaged back earlier saying that was talking about not knowing because I wasn't very clear about what the messages they sent meant, but of not knowing what to do about our society with this. Um, I've probably mentioned that a few times before, some ideas, but I might record a video, like make a concise list and actually give off some things. What I'm planning on trying to do, like what I am trying to do with this channel, like I mentioned to you guys, I'm trying to find other CPS support groups so that we can have little sectors in each state because I would like for us to get groups of people together who know the truth about CPS and who are willing to go to court for each other, Like I would like to be able to have people that's like, okay, let's all carpool together. So, so and so just wrote in to the channel and they're saying that they have court, this coming week, let's go there and stand by them and be there for them. I would like for us to be able to do that, that we need to come together and unite. But there's a lot of things I have in my mind to try to help because with stopping a bully, it's the same thing as with stopping a bully. Like, when I was a kid, why did those bullies stop bullying the kids that they were targeting at the time? When I stood up and was like, hey, no, you're not going to bully them. It's kind of the same thing. You have to stop a bully by everyone standing up together. And you don't even really need a lot of people because, I mean, it was me and the person they were bullying and like three or four, other kids, And just because one person stood up and said, no, you're not going to do this to them, it stopped it from happening. And so I believe the same thing with CPS. They're a bunch of bullies. And we need people who are willing to go to court for each other and stop them and say, no, you're not taking our children anymore. So I might do a video on that when like I can write it out more concisely and clearly and in a better way than just trying to talk about it on a live video. But yeah, if anyone else has any more questions, feel free to message. Thank you to the anonymous person who messaged um, the text now number. It's the first one that we've gotten. I really appreciate you guys' support. Um, well, like I said, I might post a video about what we can do as a society, like what steps we can take, because it is going to be I say a slow process, but it's not really going to be as slow as I think some people might think. Like I'm talking about a couple of years, not 20 or 40 years. Um, but like I said, I plan on staying here because no matter what else is going on in my life, career wise, relationship wise, just whatever's going on, I'm choosing to stay with this channel, even if God forbid something were to happen and I were to become homeless again at some point. I'm going to have a phone of some sort, and I will find a way to keep doing these lives, somehow, and keep trying to grow the channel and the groups so that we can have support for one another. We need support groups everywhere to help people fight CPS, um, because, if the attorneys aren't going to do anything, and if the judges are mostly corrupt to where they're just going to let some state worker say whatever and their word is the law, then it's up to us as citizens and as parents to join together and protect each other and to stand against what they're doing. So anyway, thank all of you who came out here to watch the channel. We're 30 minutes over our time, but that's fine. We missed last week, so we did a long one this week, and we also had Alex as a special guest on here, which was fun, considering the topic. But and I appreciate you for coming on and opening up and being vulnerable enough to share your story with hundreds and thousands of people, possibly online. Um, yeah, and also for supporting me and the rest of us on here. But thank you guys for coming out. It's getting late here. It's after 10 o'clock, so we're gonna go and take care of the dogs and get ready for bed. So have a good night, everyone. As usual, I will be putting the group information. If none of you have joined yet, I will put the group information for the Facebook groups in the comments like I normally do for every video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.